Your background is really unique because you did contact me when you were in law school, trying to plan your way into it. So we have a lot of law school listeners. It's amazing what you did accomplish. One is reaching out to develop a relationship, which you've had for years now. But more importantly, on your personal practice, could you talk about you developed the practice area for your firm? You don't work for an immigration law firm.
That's right. Yeah. And love to talk about this because if you are a law student, know the opportunities that are out there for you, and it doesn't have to be the same for everyone. And some people want to get into big law, some people don't. Some people want to practice under others for a while, some people want to clerk. But my experience was very unique. Went to law school, had gotten a couple of master's degrees even before law school. So by the time I got to law school, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I grew up as a kid in South America, lived for a while in Europe. So I'm fluent in Spanish, always have been. Knew I had a lot of clients that would be Spanish speaking, but also because I went to law school in my 30s, kind of had developed a larger network of people. So once I got into law school, I started to leverage that. And by the time I got to my 1L year, I just began to telling everyone I knew that's what I wanted to practice with immigration law. And my firm that I worked at does almost exclusively estate planning, probate, some malpractice litigation. It wasn't of interest to me, but I was always a clerk here. But my boss just said, "Hey, I know you're passionate and driven to do immigration. How about we just start a practice for you?" And so about 2 years out, I just put all my energy when I was in law school to networking with immigration attorneys who would be of help to me as I got into practice, that I could reach out to them as mentors, but also then interning at other immigration firms so I could actually get a practical experience of what that would actually look like. But then otherwise, just networking with everyone I possibly knew, just letting them know this is who I am, remember me, and I want to be an immigration attorney. And it's amazing. All those contacts throughout law school are now proving so helpful in developing clients. So once I graduated from law school, passed the bar, that week I passed the bar, then I just started getting clients, and just the snowball began, and just been doing this ever since, almost 2 years now.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's like the perfect story and example of exactly how to do it, and sowing those seeds early on. And next semester, you're going to be teaching as a law professor.
Our law school has a great clinic. Virgil Weeby's over that. But if you're a law student and you want to go into immigration law, I would tailor your experience in law school all around that. And so when I did it, I obviously took advantage of the clinic a couple of times, but then all my externships tailored them towards immigration firms, took immigration law. And often this is the case, and some people aren't aware of it, but if you have multiple law schools in the same town, normally, and some places, and they do here in Minneapolis, you can take other courses at other law schools and transfer them in. And so, for example, at the University of Minnesota, they had a immigration class. We didn't have that at our school, and was able to transfer that in as well. So if you know what you're getting into, and you could just tailor your experience to what you want, and then you can start practice far more experience than you might have otherwise.
That's fascinating. That you use other students. I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. And you network with the new professor who's probably also a practitioner, so that's even more wider reach that you have.
Absolutely, and the students in the classroom as well.
So, kind of going back to your practice, is you have such a unique position. It's so interesting you develop this practice within another firm. How does it work, like for people that are thinking about doing this, coordinating with them to make them, it's like you're not reinventing the wheel. I'm sure you use some of the services that exist within the firm, but how does that look the best you could talk about on an individual level with paralegals or staff or phone calls and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so the way we're set up, I mean, obviously we're a small firm, but we have a number of assistants that are here, and just use them on different cases. Some are, more geared towards family-based cases, and others are geared towards more employment-based cases. But they're servicing the other attorneys in the other areas that they're serving in as well. So I just use them in a part-time capacity. But yeah, the way I started it is just incredibly helpful because I've basically got all the benefits of being a solo. I can run my own practice, can set it up the way I like it, and that's why they go solo. But at the same time, I got the benefits of being within a small firm so that I can at least, have the office manager here who oversees all the billing, takes care of all the different licenses that we have to do, the insurances, you name it, they take care of all that. So I'm not bogged down like a solo sometimes is running a business. I just simply am running a practice. within a firm. So that kind of frees me up to be able to just focus on the law and not really the business side of things. Still have the flexibility to run it the way I do. Best of both worlds, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique position. I think that one of the main things, probably number one, is finding someone you're comfortable with and who you trust with the managing partner you discussed this with. I guess starting early, and that's the point of law school, maybe doing these internships just to find someone you think you could connect with. And if you can't, cut it off early and try to work for someone else so that you could develop a relationship. You could trust them in a position like this. They'll trust you because you're working with their brand name, the firm's brand name, but they trust you and you trust them. That you're working together. There's all these other things that are involved. So it's that human connection, one-on-one is the most important part of development. Started early. You went to, at least you're in your 30s, went to law school. I think that helps out. I was in my 20s and I had really no idea what was going on. I thought I graduate, someone just gives me a bunch of money and I go to work and I have a suit on. I didn't have a realistic perspective of what the real world was. You've seen the world, you see how it is. What I saw is older law students much more serious and went about things with intent and knowing what they want. With me just going straight out of college to law school was lacking this big time.
Yeah, well, it's often the case that we see people, I would say probably maybe half the people in law school, maybe a little less than that, or at least an assistant at a law firm before they go to law school, and get a feel for what law looks like on a day-to-day basis. And often people just hit the eject button when they realize they don't want to do that area of the law, and they're like, okay, I'm not going to work here when I end up with law school. But if they realize that it might be possible, if you stick around there, that they might develop a trust for you and say, hey, run with it. If they don't want to do immigration and you want to do that, they might say that this will bring in clients to us in estate planning or litigation, you name it, family law. Guy next door to me here does family law, and so I refer him cases and vice versa. That cross-pollination is really good at a solo firm. And so I wouldn't hit the eject button too early, because you've developed that trust early on so that they see you grow as a law student and then say, hey, this is the kind of guy that we have poured resources into. We know and trust. We know he fits the culture of the firm. Let's let him run with it. Let's let her run with it and have them fit in a new area that they otherwise would not have had.
One interesting thing I learned as I started studying immigration law as a business, and I keep track of all the firms and stuff. Yeah, a lot of times I would think New York, LA, Miami, DC, Seattle, these are like the main hubs for immigrants where there's big ports. But Minnesota, Minneapolis in particular, is a major immigration hub, not just asylum, humanitarian, refugee cases, which there's a lot of from Somalia in particular, from Bosnia even. But it's a big EB2 tech hub, medical worker, nurses. There's a huge both employment, humanitarian, and family-based hub over there.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some of the best immigration attorneys in town here, and that's the beauty of it too. If you're early on in law school and you talk to a lot of them, take them out for coffee, just pick their brain for 20, 30 minutes, you develop that relationship, and that's what I did. And so I feel like I've got the best of both worlds, where I just simply get to run my own practice, but I've developed friendships and colleagues here in town where I can call them up on a particular matter. Super helpful as you're starting practice particularly.